In this community ranking, I asked you wizards to rank the bosses of Skyrim from easiest to hardest. And did you guys deliver? With over 150 participants, we have a total of 47 bosses to conquer. Our countdown starts with the easiest and ends with the hardest. Thanks to everyone who participated. Your contributions made this video possible. Now get ready to sharpen your swords and charge your spells, because part 1 of the ranking is about to begin. First on the list, and the easiest boss in Skyrim, we have those two cultists who attack you after being called Dovahkiin. I know the cultist crew aren't technically bosses, but someone mentioned it in the comments and I thought I should honor it. These guys are the minions of Mirak, the evil overlord, who lives in his temple on Solstheim and sends his lackeys to do the dirty work. After completing the Way of the Voice quest, they'll be sent to chase your ass down non-stop, and are skilled in both ranged and melee combat, using powerful spells such as Lightning Bolt and Fireball. But don't worry, they're not that smart. They'll first show up in a town or city, so you can hide behind the guards and let them do the work. But if you don't want them constantly on your tail, you could always refuse to acknowledge your destiny as the Dragonborn and let Alduin destroy the world. Or you could just suck it up and complete the entire Dragonborn main questline like a true hero. Whatever your decision, just remember to pack some cheese wheels. Coming in second to last, we have Istormo. This snobby Thalmor agent reports to Ancano and will barge in to ruin your day at the end of Labyrinthian, just when you thought you were home free with the Staff of Magnus. Just like the cultists, he will attack you regardless of your response, and kiss his ass to a higher power. When will these guys learn to be their own bosses? Anyway, despite this constant brown-nosing, Istormo does know how to hold his own, and will go full mage on you with his shock spells and flame Atronach. But did you know that you can avoid this awkward confrontation altogether? That's right, if you sheath your weapon, he'll be so confused that he'll have to question his entire existence, leaving you to walk right out the door. But we don't sympathize with the Thalmor here, even if they did take the crown as the best race in Skyrim in my previous ranking. And look who we have here, Ancano. He's the High Elf Snooper of the College of Winterhold, where he serves as an advisor to the Archmage, or so he claims. He's actually anywhere but with the Archmage, and you'll often find him lurking around the halls, listening in on people's conversations, like a skeever. The folks at the college don't trust him, and neither should you. I mean, he's Thalmor after all, and we all know how these guys are. As the college questline unfolds, it becomes increasingly clear that Ancano is up to something fishy, and turns out he's got a thing for orbs. He's even got one hidden underneath Sarthal, which is key to his ominous scheme. And let me tell you, this high elf has got an impressive arsenal of spells, and excels in fire and shock magic, as well as restoration magic. So I personally had an extremely challenging experience with Ancano during the mage quest. While he may not be officially labelled as a boss, he gave me a tough time due to my squishy mage build. Every one of his attacks seemed to be a one-shot kill for my character, and I felt quite helpless. The frustrating part was the game's only hint was to shoot the eye, but I couldn't figure it out, leaving me stuck in him for 2 whole days. So this was fun. Nope, that doesn't sound like an ideal situation at all, honestly. And I remember having a tough time myself the first time around. But once you figure out that the trick is to fully close the eye from which he draws his power by using the Staff of Magnus, he becomes a mere mortal again, and vulnerable to your attacks. Krev the Skinner is next on the chopping block, and let's just say, he's not a fan of werewolves. In fact, he's the leader of the Silver Hand, a group that makes it their mission to turn werewolves into mincemeat. And with a name like Skinner, you know he's not messing around. Interestingly, Krev can be a male or female, as well as a number of races, proving that bigotry comes in all shapes and sizes. You'll find this furry hater hanging out with the other criminals in Gallows Rock, and you'll have to take him down during the Silver Hand quest. But don't worry, Ayla the Huntress will be at your side to protect you, and if you're feeling extra cheesy, you could just let her do all the work with her bow. I hear she's got a howl of a shot. And after all, you don't want to end up like Skjor, do you? Now brace yourselves for Lord Tusk, the ultimate Hawker boss. You'll find him chilling on Hawker Island in Solstheim, and trust me, you can't miss him. This guy's not your average Hawker, he's a lord, so you better address him with some respect. With over 2.5 times the health of a regular Hawker and nearly 1.5 times the stamina, this flabby sea creature is the walrus equivalent of a bodybuilder. But like a bodybuilder who skipped leg day, Lord Tusk is the slowest thing alive, and this is really exaggerated with a third word of slow time, bless him. Flippin' heck. But fortunately for him, the steel mace on the island called Hawksbane, which is meant to deal 20 more damage to Hawkers, is bugged and doesn't work. I mean, even if it did work, he still wouldn't have stood a chance against the Continuing with our creatures, we have the legendary green-eyed frost troll, Judefrikta. Like Lord Tusk, he's got a face only a mother could love. But unlike Lord Tusk, he's not just a big softie. He was initially thought to be one of a kind, but it turns out that there are 2 Judefriktas to have been recorded in history, raising the possibility that it is in fact a rare species. Talk about a frosty family reunion. You'll find him in the icy section of the cave in Dawnstar Sanctuary during the Dark Brotherhood quest, The Cure for Madness, and if you know your frost trolls well, you'll want to give him a warm welcome. But he can be avoided entirely if you can sneak past him, and this chest conveniently has 3 fire attack scrolls next to it. With over 1.5 times more health than a standard troll, Judefrikta may seem like a tank, but surprisingly he lacks stamina. When did these guys end? Old Salty is a unique respawnable mud crab that can be found at North Shore Landing on Solstheim, and honestly, I'm surprised that he and Lord Tusk are not last on the list. But let me tell you, this mini-boss mud crab is a loot hoarder. He's got a pair of shoes, a tankard, some septims, and even a precious gem. And rumour has it that he's related to the merchant mud crab from the Elder Scrolls 3 Morrowind, who was known for selling alcoholic beverages. I'd love to share a pint with Old Salty, but I'm afraid he'd steal my mug and run away with it. Ah, finally, a boss worth taking down. Mercer Frey, the sneaky Breton rogue, is the ex-guildmaster of the Thieves' Guild and a master of deception. He betrayed his own guild and stole the skeleton key from Nocturnal, an unbreakable lockpick which he then used to skim funds from the guild's treasury. But Mercer got too greedy and ended up disposing of his buddy, Gallus, the one who caught him. And to top it off, he then framed his former partner, Carlia, for the murder. It's almost impressive how much he accomplished if it weren't for us meddling dragonborns. That's right, you'll face him during the blindsighted quest at the end of Erknethand. But he's not very threatening. He goes invisible from time to time, but never follows up with any sneak attacks. And when he is invisible, the Aura Whisper Shout helps to track him down, and then you can just Fusradar him off the top. On my first playthrough, I actually died because of the flooding, and finding the exit was the true challenge. But before you leave, don't forget to loot his corpse, as he's got some seriously valuable stuff. You can also keep the skeleton key forever if you wish, just don't complete the quest. And lo and behold, we have yet another mud crab. No, not that one, this one. This is the Emperor Crab Guardian Spirit, and it's so massive that attacking it with a regular weapon feels like a tickle to it. If you want to take this bad boy down, you'll need to call upon the power of flaming catapults. Legend has it that these Emperor Crabs used to roam Vardenfell, way back when the Kaimer were just settling in. But alas, the species died out long ago. Some say they devolved into the modern mud crab after realizing that being a divine creature was too much work, and being a mud crab was way more crabulous. And as Dragonborns, we totally get it. I mean, sometimes we just want to Fusradar a chicken and call it a day. You'll come face to face with this colossal crustacean during the Wavebreaker quest at a shack on Dawnstar shores. But be warned, you'll be throwing waves of his crabby siblings your way. And let me tell you, these little critters are not to be underestimated and can get you in a pinch if you're not careful. Overall, it's an epic battle, and one to remember. And now for the Pale Lady. She is a spooky wisp mother who has been sealed inside a crypt for thousands of years. She guards a blade known as the Pale Blade and is mentioned in the book Lost Legends. For generations, the people of Morthal have told whispered tales of the Pale Lady, a ghostly woman who wanders the northern marshes, forever seeking her lost daughter. Some say she steals children who wander astray, others that her sobbing wail strikes dead all those who hear it. But behind these tales may lie a kernel of truth, for ancient records speak of Omriel, a mysterious figure Ysgramor's heirs battled for decades and finally sealed away. So it appears that the Pale Lady has some serious mummy issues, and it's possible that they bound her spirit to the sword to stop her from causing mischief. I mean, look what she did to poor Azir. He's got rigor mortis. But as Dragonborn, you'll have to deal with her at the end of Frostmere Crypt, where she'll be giving you the frosty treatment. Lucky for us wizards though, fire is her weakness, so you can give her a taste of her own medicine. And if you want to take a break from all the action, you can always give her back her precious Pale Blade and wait for her to chill out. But where's the fun in that? Oh, and before you leave, make sure to have a good look around for those 2 hidden chests as well as some leveled gear. And of course, don't forget about the word wall to learn the ice form shout. Next on our hit list is the Caller, an Ultima mage who thinks she's a mad scientist. She runs a group of mages in Felglow Keep, but the College of Winterhold isn't too thrilled about her hobby of playing with people's lives, understandably. She lured another college student, Orthorn, into their twisted scheme and used him to steal some books from the Arcanium. But what's worse is that Orthorn thought he was doing the clan a favour, but then they imprisoned him and probably performed unspeakable experiments on him too. I mean, talk about falling for the oldest trick in the book. And interestingly, the Caller demanded books about Sarthal. Sounds familiar, doesn't it? She could well have been the perfect partner in crime for that other high elf, Ancano, but I guess we'll never know. You'll find her in a mad lab, Felglow Keep, during the Hitting the Books quest, and she's got some serious conjuring and teleportation skills. She can summon multiple Flame Atronachs, Frost Atronachs, and Storm Atronachs. And if that's not shocking enough, she's also a master of sparks. One way to get the upper hand straight off the bat is to persuade her and then sneak up behind her, giving her a good old whack on the noggin. But if you are feeling lazy, don't worry about a key to the treasure room, as you can access it through the trap door. Our first Draugr dude on the list is Olaf One-Eye. He was a Nord Jarl of Whiterun during the First Era, famous for locking up the dragon Numenex within his palace. Due to his fame, Olaf was eventually crowned High King of Skyrim, but quickly found out that being in charge was not all it's cracked up to be. You see, a bard, Svaknir, wrote a diss track on him, calling him out to be a fraud and a tyrant. And instead of taking the criticism like a champ, King Olaf got so triggered that he locked up the poor bard and burned every copy of the verse he could find, proving that he had no bars of his own. I guess he didn't have the guts to face the music. Now, many years later, you'll find him in Dead Men's Respite during the Tending the Flames quest, where he'll be facing off against you and Svaknir's ghostly backup. And let me tell you, Svaknir is so full of vengeance that he'll make the Draugr entourage regret ever rising from their seats, and will even let you sit back and enjoy the show as he takes them all down. But if you want to give the bard a hand, you could always use Dawnbreaker to give him a hot beat. And this next part always gives me goosebumps. Olaf One-Eye may pack a punch, but with the immortal Svaknir, the ultimate ghostwriter, at your side, he's just another dead man walking. Up next, we have Cornelius, another Ultima mage with a passion for freaky experiments. He conducts his disturbing experiments in the ruined fort of Harmugstal, and let's just say he's not your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. No, he's more like a mad scientist with a serious frostbite spider addiction. He's got a special serum that infuses these 8-legged nightmares with fire, frost, and shock, because apparently they're not scary enough as it is. And to top it off, he's got a spell arsenal that includes, you guessed it, more fire, frost, and shock. But beware, at higher levels, he himself may also be immune to elemental damage. You can either engage in one-on-one combat with Cornelius, or give him a taste of his own medicine by unleashing his magically infused frostbite spiders on him. And once the show is over, be sure to raid Cornelius's quarters before you head out. And now for Alduin, the World Eater himself. I'm sure we're all aware of who this dragon is. He's only the primary antagonist of the whole of Skyrim, and is meant to be an immensely powerful dragon who intends to destroy the world. But yet, as confirmed by this ranking, that really isn't the case, and his final showdown is rather underwhelming. Here's the thing, to face him you'll have to travel to Sovngarde, but getting there is no easy feat. First, you'll have to capture a dragon and convince it to give you a ride to the Velothi Mountains. Then, you'll have to fight off more Draugr than you can count. After that, you'll have to take on a powerful dragon priest, and to top it all off, you've then got to prove yourself once again in a warrior's test by beating Sun, the Nordic god of trials. After all that, you'd expect Alduin to be the Dragonborn's worst nightmare, but he's basically just a big scaly chicken with a cool title. My favourite boss fight was when I one-shot Alduin with Maroon's Razor. I'd only been playing a few months, and my friend, who was already a veteran of the game about 4 years after release, was really salty that I had something to one-up all his stories for a while. And this is exactly what I mean, and I'm sure Maroon's Razor has been the cause of many disappointing Alduin fights. At least it was for me, but at least we got bragging rights, Turtle Sandwich. Alduin is functionally very similar to most other dragons, but he does have one unique shout called Dragon Stormcall, which is similar to the Stormcall shout, but it rains fiery meteors from the sky. It's a pretty badass sight to behold, especially in Sovngarde's atmosphere, but this fight, while certainly memorable, is over fairly quickly with the help of the 3 Nordic heroes at your side. And there is a 4th Nordic hero you may not be aware of. NordVPN, the ultimate protection for your internet browsing and sponsor of this video. It's like Spellbreaker for your online activities, keeping them secure and private from potential hackers and cyber threats. This is especially useful when out adventuring and using public Wi-Fi, and I found it particularly helpful just recently when my flight was delayed to go on holiday. I whipped it open on my phone while I was waiting and could reply to you wizards with the utmost peace of mind. And just like the Thuum, NordVPN can blast through restricted websites and content, giving you access to them no matter where you are in Tamriel. This can save you more than a few septims, especially when it comes to subscription services, as you can change the appearance of your location to get even better deals. In effect, it kinda pays for itself. With over 5,000 ultra-fast servers in 60 countries, NordVPN is more widespread than the Empire's influence, providing connection speeds that even the Greybeards would shout about. And if you ever need to access your devices from far away, like the throat of the world, NordVPN's MeshNet feature has got your back. I know I'll certainly be using this feature to help support my non-techie mother wizard. So why not give NordVPN a try and experience a safer and more secure internet browsing experience? It's risk-free with Nord's 30-day money-back guarantee, and by scanning the QR code on screen or clicking the link in the description, you'll get to save big on the 2-year plan and get 4 extra months completely free. Our next big baddie is Warlord Gathric, and by Talos, he's a giant. His size, power, and skills as a warrior offer insight into the life he may have led. but we know very little about him. And here's a little secret. Depending on your level, he can either be a Draugr or a Dragon Priest, so you better hope you don't level up too much. He can be found in Ironbind Barrow, surrounded by his undead minions. But don't worry, you'll have backup from Salma. But don't count on Beamjar, that's one slippery lizard boy. I think the only time Skyrim scripting actually caught me off guard was fighting against Warlord Gathric. He's already an incredibly tough boss, and even though I brought along a very capable follower, Mjol, and the fact that there were 2 NPCs helping with the fight, we'd only barely beaten him. So to go from one tough boss fight where my health hadn't fully regenerated to another caught me entirely off guard. I remember just barely making it to cover, eating several wheels of cheese, 1 vegetable soup, and power bashing Beamjar like the absolute hero I was. Even at lower levels, that fight is no joke, and it's totally worth it for the weapon at the end of the fight, the steel battle axe of Fiery Souls. Wow, sounds like Warlord Gathric and Beamjar really gave you a run for your septims there, Ravenshade. But can we take a moment to appreciate the real hero of the story here, the cheese wheels? Those things are more powerful than an Elder Scroll, I tell you. Warlord Gathric usually wields either a one-handed weapon and shield or a two-handed weapon and has 3 shouts at his disposal: Frost Breath, Unrelenting Force, and that cursed disarm shout, which always flings my weapon to oblivion. And speaking of Beamjar, he can reanimate Gathric's body to fight for him, so you better have plenty more cheese wheels just in case. And once both are defeated and looted, don't forget about the word wall for the Become Ethereal shout, the chest to the side, and of course the steel battle axe of Fiery Souls, which can be disenchanted. And finally, we have the Bosmer Mage, or Chendor. He was the chosen one of Periite, the Daedric prince of pestilence, and was tasked with spreading disease and creating the Afflicted, a race of humanoids who can vomit an extremely acidic green substance, like a bad batch of skooma. But like any good employee, Chendor decided to quit his job and went rogue, isolating the Afflicted and putting a stop to the plague. Periite was less than pleased by his betrayal, and so sends us to finish him off in the dwarven ruin of Bethardams. But be warned, before you can reach him, you'll have to face his army of puking Afflicted and clanking dwarven. You'll find Chendor in Bethardam's Arcanex during the Only Cure quest, and he's got a spell arsenal thicker than a mammoth's trunk, complete with a toxic vomit attack. What's worse is that every so often he teleports away from you and has an innate 100% magic resistance. This makes him completely immune to all spells, absorption effects and paralysis effects, as well as immune to nearly all shouts. To take him down, you'll want to rely on your trusty weapons, especially the bow for when he teleports, and it doesn't do harm to come with some elemental resistance too. Congratulations, fellow wizards! You survived more mudcrabs, Thalmor agents and Draugr than a Whiterun guard on a slow day, and I'm starting to feel like a walking cheese wheel with all this fighting. But fear not, for we shall march on into part 2, where we face even tougher foes. A huge shout out to all you wizards who helped me rank the bosses of Skyrim. You guys made this possible. Collectively sharing our opinions like this is what Skyrim's all about, and I'd love to continue making these community rankings with you guys, if you'll have me. With that said, be sure to give the video some love with a thumbs up, and subscribe so you don't miss out on the other 2 parts. It was a pleasure having you on board, wizards. Thank you for watching, for this has been the Welsh Wizard, and I shall see you fellow wizards in the next one.